Welcome to Honest Combos with Karen.
And Marcia. We're longtime biz besties bringing you along for the journey of building a business and life you actually want.
No fluff, no filters, just honest conversations about the highs, the lows, and everything in between.
So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's get into it. Hello, welcome back. We are excited to talk today about something I know I'm an expert in, and that's self-sabotage. I think it's par for the course if you're an entrepreneur because you're in such a heavy growth, uh, I don't know, Karen, what am I trying to say?
Yeah, I mean, well, because you're pushing yourself into like new, different places in new, different ways. And so it's scary. And it can be kind of like, is this safe? Am I going to be okay? Is it going to work out? And we'll talk about that, like what self-sabotage even is and how it shows up in your life. And because that it really is going to be like in a time when you're trying to push to those new levels.
The first time that it ever really made a lot of sense to me, I was reading the book by Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap, and that's a book that I recommend to basically anyone I ever meet who they feel like they're not reaching their full potential, as a business owner. They're self-aware and they know like I am holding myself back. I'm repeating things that I've done in my past and blowing up different parts of my life. And that's what Gay Hendricks talks about is he says that once you reach your upper limit, you start to push against it and there's discomfort there. And then that's when you start to self-sabotage, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's unignorable. Like once you start to have this kind of self-sabotage cycle that begins, like you can't not deal with it because no amount of fixing your schedule, finding new tools, getting a new strategy, building new system. None of that is gonna like if you continue to be stuck in a self-sabotage cycle, like none of that is gonna save you. But I think a lot of times that's what we'll focus on. Like, okay, well maybe I just need to try a different, morning routine, or I just need a new planner, or I just need to, fire that client and get a different client. Like and it's like all these other things, if you don't deal with that internal self-sabotage that's happening, it's not going to, you're not going to be able to fix the real issue, and you'll still, see those same patterns show up over and over again, which can then put you into frustration and like, what's wrong with me? And, it can just take you down a spiral that you don't want to be in. So definitely excited to talk more about this topic and how we've kind of got out of our cycles when we notice them, and some things that you can think about and try if you find yourself relating a lot to what we talk about in this episode.
Karen knows this, and I think we may have talked about this in one of the other seasons, but whenever we would get closer and closer to the connector conferences, like I would, just start trying to blow up my relationship with my husband. Like, I would just start fights and pick fights and like just dumb stuff. And like, it wasn't until reading that book where, no, actually, I read the book before the conferences. I actually read that book. Do you remember Karen and I went to Los Angeles and we went to, who was it?
It was Natalie's event. Yeah, it was, yeah, one of her in-person events. That was such a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I was at a baseball game, one of my kids' baseball games, and I was sitting in a camper chair and I'm reading the book and my shoulder had been killing me. And I even went to a chiropractor. Chiropractors freak me out because it's so like just the way they do the adjustments. It looks really violent. But I had all of this pain in my shoulder and I'm reading the book and he says that he's like one of the ways that we can self-sabotage is with physical pain. So it's like you don't wanna deal with the emotional turmoil, so you and I was like, "Oh my god," like, I was literally sitting there and I'm like, "This is what I'm doing right now," but anyway, so Karen and I went to that event in Los Angeles, and then we came back and we were on a panel together, her, me, and Kim, our biz bestie. We were on a panel in DC for the Women's Expo, what was
Women
it?
in Power, I think.
Yeah, Women's Empowerment Expo. Anyway, it was, like, in DC, and I was like, "Oh my god," we were coast to coast, and I'm like, and that's where the idea for Connector Conference came. So we put it on in, like, October, so that event the WEX event was in May, and then October was the first connector conference, and the closer we were getting to that date, the more and more it was just like it was like a I don't know, like a very, very fast course in how you can, like, try to blow up your whole life. Yeah, so that's where, mine are the physical pain, and it's like once you do actually figure out what your sabotages are, it's not like they go away, but they give you a good you can kinda see that it's coming up again, you know? So, like, whenever my body's hurting and it's not necessarily from, like, overexertion, then I'm like, "Oh, am I stretching in some way professionally? Like, am I growing in some way?" Yeah,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts, Karen?
No, I mean, that's so true. Like, and I think sometimes we will miss that, right? Like, we will kind of like brush off the shoulder pain. And so it's important to pay attention to those physical cues as well as any like emotional, mental cues. Because for me, it definitely is the procrastinating. Like, I will learn the hell out of some stuff and think I don't know enough yet. Like, and I just need to learn more. I need to do more research. I need to get another certification. I mean, I had a coach once that was like, "So when is it gonna be enough? How many certifications do you need? What is it gonna take for you to feel like you are enough and you know your shit and you just need to get out there and do your thing?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, no one asked me that before." Like I hadn't had to confront my procrastinating, in that way. And so I was like, yeah, I am sabotaging because I am telling myself that I am not there yet. Like, I need more. And meanwhile, I'm watching people who have none of the education or experience or certifications or any of the things just skyrocket while telling myself I still have to do more. So it was like, why? And so that was part of where I was figuring out, okay, that's one of my self sabotages. It's like, I tell myself I need more. I'm not there yet. I need to learn more. I need to research more. I don't know all the things. And it was never true, but it gave me comfort because I felt like I was still doing something, right? Like I'm still doing something. I'm making progress because I'm learning more stuff, but I wasn't actually doing the things that I needed to do to grow the business and do, what I needed to do to get clients or whatever. So it is yeah, you have to deal with both. And then I did have like a lot of health stuff that started around I guess 21 or 2, I can't remember. And I don't know 100% what it's related to, but part of the symptoms that I was experiencing did flare up when I was in a period of business growth. So I could maybe equate the two. I haven't fully digested if they're, related, but it's important, I think, to pay attention. Like, I think that's the thing is like sometimes we will just brush it under the rug, whatever we're feeling or whatever we're, especially physical stuff. I think, as women, we tend to just, think that we got to take it and keep it moving and we have to be strong and we have so much to do, especially when you're a parent and you got kids and stuff to shuffle around. I think it's easy to just brush our physical things to the side. So you do have to really just be aware and pay attention to those things.
Yeah, that constant pushing and like, okay, we talked about this in the other episode about like let it be easy. It's like there's a difference between like force and flow and like there's always going to be trial and tribulations in your life and there's going to be things that aren't always easy, but life should flow. It shouldn't be like you're just constantly like, hitting walls. And when you were talking about your self-sabotage, it's like the learning for you it's funny because for me, like, I have learning differences. I have a really hard time, like, acquiring knowledge, like, by reading so for me, I'm able to learn through doing. So I'm, like, the very brash, like, "Okay, let me just get in there and figure it out and let me fail fast and, fail forward and everything," and that's how I'm an experiential learner, but for you, it's like your learning was your comfort zone. And for me, like, my comfort zone, I think, is overthinking things and trying to figure out, like, put everything together on paper and thinking that there's a secret formula. I always think there's a secret formula, Like, it's like, "Oh, these other people, they just know," and like you were saying, like, all these other people are just going and doing what they're learning, and I don't know, it's just funny, but it's like, if you're in your comfort zone, if you feel like, "Oh, I'm warm and I'm happy and I'm so safe," that it's like you might be self-sabotaging.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like, you do have to, again, pay attention to that. Like, if you're feeling super warm and comfy and at home, that's probably a sign that you're not doing some things that you need to that would push you out of that comfort zone. Because we don't like to be uncomfortable. And that's a whole nother subject, but the way our brains are wired, and we start to have this fear, and we think fear is a bad thing because like we're not going to get eaten by lions. Like that's the kind of fear that is a bad thing. Like you do want to have that fear, but like when you have fear of what people are going to think, or fear about failing, like am I going to fall flat on my face, and everyone's going to laugh at me, or whatever, those kind of fears, like those are the ones that it's good information, and you say thank you, brain, I appreciate you, but you got to push past that. You can't let that be something you get stuck in, because it will just keep you in that cycle, and you have to, like, it's not going to be comfortable. It is not going to be comfortable, and that's okay.
Business though is there's ebbs and flows too, where like, you don't need to be growing all the time. Like that's not realistic. So it's okay to we're talking about self-sabotage is like when you know that you're the hurdle in your business from getting to the next level. So it's like when you're booked out, you're working, you have whatever, you're working 40 to 60 hours a week directly one-on-one, and then you don't have time for admin. You don't, like your systems are like held together with duct tape and glue, and that's when you realize like, okay, I'm not stepping back, I'm not looking at what the actual issue is, and I need to figure out why. And the fear, yeah, it's fear sucks, but like it's such a powerful emotion, and when you can actually, like, look at it face on, like, I feel like, we're never gonna not have fear. There's always gonna be fear, and my whole thing is, like, I would rather have fear of something legit than just fear of just my brain just creating anxiety over, it's like I'd rather be fearful of a speaking event than just have spin out about something stupid, you know?
Yeah.
'Cause
No, I
it's gonna
totally
spin
get
out.
that. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, is like really kind of becoming friends with that fear, and like not letting it be a negative thing, just another piece of information. And you're right, like it doesn't go away. Like I was last week preparing, cuz I still work full time, I think I've mentioned. And I work with executives. Like all of the people I communicate with on a daily basis are like high level executives. And I've been doing this for 20 something years. Like you would think I'm a old pro. It's an old shoe at this point, but I'm still like last week working on a briefing, and I'm like butterflies in my stomach, and I'm like, as I'm about to start talking, I'm like, are the words going to come out right? Am I going to sound stupid? I mean, again, been doing this for 20 years. Why am I nervous, right? But that's the thing. Like it never goes away, and I know that. So I'm able to just now tell myself like, you got this, you know your shit, you've checked all the boxes, you overthought it, so let's move on. I'm able to like give me myself that self-talk. And the same thing with my business stuff, when I'm doing a webinar or a workshop, or I'm about to like sit down and have a new orientation with a client, I'm still always nervous. And again, been doing this even for like over a decade now. It's just there's no reason logically to still have a butterfly in your stomach, but it's going to be there. And then when you know that, you can just not let it be like, oh my God, something's wrong. I must not be ready. I must not know my stuff. My webinar slides suck. My workshop's going to be terrible. Like you don't have to go there now when you know, like, no, this is just nervousness. It's always going to be there, and it's okay. And I'm just going to push past it and do my thing, be great, show up, show out. Like you just can kind of give yourself a different pep talk when you acknowledge it, name it, and just like, okay, we're here, but we're not going to let that stop us.
I love that, Karen, because it's like that self-soothing, like reaffirming conversation that you're having with yourself. And you can also have that conversation with other people where it's like your biz besties, like reach out to them and be like, "Hey dude, I'm freaking out about about this." And they'll be like, "Remember that time you did this?" And it's like, so just to get out of your head about it. And I think like we talked about before we hit record, we talked about like imposter syndrome. And I think that kinda plays into it too, like, we're always thinking that we're gonna get found out, because we know that we don't know everything, because we're self-aware enough to know that we don't know everything, and we put ourselves in these situations where we're learning, and I don't know, like, we think, like but there's some things that we just know so well, I have my best friend in North Carolina, she was like, "I can't believe you, like, spend money on courses like this," she's like, "You should be teaching these courses," and I'm like, "That's not my skill set," and I'm like, "And I'm always gonna pick something up from there I'm always gonna be able to get information out of something," but I don't know, I feel like we can be our own worst enemies, and we just get caught up in, like, "Okay, there's more that I should know," and there's just so much pressure for women, There's so much pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too much pressure, and so you don't wanna be a source of more of that pressure, right? Like, we
Right.
have enough of it, so
Yeah.
you just need to you don't wanna be the other part that's also putting more pressure on you, because it's not you're you're gonna do well or you're not gonna do well, but it's all information, right? Like, something could go great, something could be a total flop, but it's all information. Like, we have to get comfortable with not getting attached to outcomes, like just pouring ourselves into the process, pouring ourselves into like we know our stuff, just like executing. And then if it goes well or doesn't, like you can't really control that anyway. So that's where we get like, oh, I don't, what are people going to think? Or I'm going to fail. Like that's when you get too attached to outcomes that you start to spin off on that. So it's like just detach from outcomes, which is not easy. I know it takes practice, a lot of practice. And that is really like what we talked about, just being super self-aware and having like a conversation with you like come on Karen, get your shit together, like like this really honest conversation with yourself. Journaling helps a lot, of just getting the thoughts out of your head. We talked about brain dumping before. Like a lot of it is just getting the stuff out of your head that is like living in there rent free. So like just starting to dump it out, journal it out, like that can help a lot too, of just like decompressing and not being the one that's putting more pressure on yourself.
I mean, when you think about it too, it's like nobody is giving you as much attention as you think they are too. It's like have a little bit of perspective, It's like you are spinning out, but like there's people in that meeting who like, maybe their kid is sick or like everybody like we're in such a distractible environment, where nobody's giving like their full attention. And like if you have all of this proof that you've succeeded in the past, like, yeah, you probably are gonna succeed, but if you don't, you can easily say, "Hey," can reach out, whatever the situation is, like, "I wasn't at my best today. I would like a redo," or, "Here's some bullet points of what I meant to say." Just try not to be your own enemy, like nobody's giving what you do, like, nobody's looking into it as much as you are. So,
Yeah. No, that's a good point, and that point is especially applicable to visibility on social media, because people will be like, "Well, I don't wanna post too much." And it's like, there really isn't a too much, because people don't see half of what you post. Like, you see all of what you post, so you think, "Oh, I just talked about that. I don't need to say it again." But it's like maybe, 1% of the people who follow you would have seen it. So it's just interesting when you said that. That's what I thought of, like, because 'cause I'll have a lot of clients who I, like, will give them a plan for social media, and they're like, "Ooh, oh, but that's, like, a lot, though. I'm gonna like, people are gonna get sick of me." I'm like, "They're not even gonna see half of this, or 1/3 or one-fourth or 1/8 of it. Like, it's fine." So, yeah, I mean, people are in their own cycles of whatever thoughts, like you mentioned, like their whatever's going on in their lives, like we're all thinking about ourselves way more than we're thinking about anyone else. So just remember that, and it gives you some freedom, right? Because you're like, yeah, whatever, I can post like 8 times, no one's gonna be like, oh my gosh, she's talking about her damn workshop again. Yes, I
yeah.
am. And then what's funny, whenever I would get into cycles like that back when, like, that last post that I almost didn't post because I thought I was talking too much will be the one that brought in, like, 2 or 3 people. You know what I mean? Like, it's yeah, so you always wanna refer back to the evidence where it worked out.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before too in previous seasons where it's like nobody's complaining that Coke has another commercial, it's like, oh my god, McDonald's is, they have another commercial. It's like, yeah, it's called marketing, Like, that's what businesses do. They market their products and services. So, yeah, that's a big one too, the visibility for self-sabotage. There's also, like, overspending, like, spending a lot of money. That was another one that I would do. I really am an expert. Like, I would do everything, like, before the conference, I was like, "Oh my god, I really need to have this," and so it's funny because now that I know that, I can be like, "Marcia, does the business need this in 3 months? Like, is this money that I'm spending because, like, I think throwing money at something is gonna make me feel better?" Whenever you realize you're self-sabotaging, you're kinda like, I feel like it's disappointing because 'cause you're like, "Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I so hard on myself?" And it's like, that's just I feel like that's how we're trained in society, like, we start out perfect and then, like, teachers, parents, whoever, like, people say, like, you're doing that wrong," and then, like, we become very critical of ourselves, and so, it's upsetting when you find out that you're the one that's getting in your own way, but it's like, but you can easily, like, just take that knowledge and just let it be a lesson, like you said, everything is information, like, "Okay, next time I'm gonna see that coming. I'm gonna see that."
Yeah. Yep. And that helps you rewrite the story, right? Like rewrite the narrative that is running in your head or running in your thoughts. Like just rewriting and reframing is so important so that you can get out of the cycle. So definitely like get it out of your head. Journaling is probably the best tool, I think, for this because when you write all those thoughts down and you can reflect on them, you start to really notice like, "Oh my gosh, like what is wrong with me? I don't why am I thinking that? Like, no, that's not true." Like you can start to kind of have that little back and forth with yourself. It's a lot of self-talk happening here.
A lot, yeah, and I mean, you can talk to, a coach, you can talk to your friends, you can talk to your partner, you can there's it's just not, like, pushing it away, not thinking
Yeah.
like, "This is normal, this is this is just part of it, don't distract yourself from it." Like, look into it, see what it can point out, and then just be aware of it in the future, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's I think that's our episode on self-sabotage. So if you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's me. You're talking about me." Like if you really were relating, we'd love to hear from you like on social, tag us and let us know what your thoughts were on the episode. And yeah, we want to help you get out of your way. Like we're trying to still get out of our ways. Again, it's a continuous journey. So the conversation on this is never over. So just yeah, stay at it. Hey friend, loving this combo?
Then don't keep it to yourself.
Hit that follow button so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling extra generous,
Leave us a quick review. It helps more women find the show, and it honestly means the world to us.
and we really want to connect beyond the podcast. So come say hi on social.